Good morning from New York, and good afternoon to all of you who are joining us from other parts of the world. We are thrilled to have this opportunity today to share with you a draft policy guidelines on artificial intelligence for children. This guidance aims to raise awareness of children's rights and how AI system can uphold or undermine these rights. But it also aims to provide some requirements and recommendations to governments and the private sector to uphold these rights of children. A little more than a year ago, we started this project with the support of a number of experts, organizations and institutions, including IEEE, Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society, Five Rights Foundation, World Economic Forum, to name just a few. This project was made possible through the support of the Government of Finland that has not only given generous donation to Unicef, but has also been actively engaged every step of the way and shared with us their technical expertise and knowledge. We are particularly proud that the consultation process that led to the development of this guidance was really open, and that we engaged a range of actors, including children from different regions and a number of Unicef country offices. And we're also pleased that today we also have with us our colleagues from Unicef Finland, Jussi Kivipuro and Katja Tarvahartiala, who were particularly supportive of this project. Now, I'd like to introduce to you our panelists. We have a very exciting lineup of speakers. I'll start with our Deputy Executive Director, Mr. Fayez King, who is the Deputy Executive Director of Field Results and Innovation in Unicef. Good morning, Fayez. Next is Mr. Jarmo Sareva. He is Ambassador for Innovation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Good morning. And then we're going to hear also from my colleague Steve Waslow, who is a policy specialist on digital connectivity in our Office of Global Insight and Policy. Steve will tell us more about this project, what led to its development, and how we got here where we are today. We're also going to hear from Virginia Dignam. She's a professor of responsible artificial intelligence in Umeå University. She will take us through the content of the guidance and key messages. Good morning, Virginia, or good afternoon. We'll hear from Lionel Brossi. He's a Director of Artificial Intelligence and Society Hub at Universidad de Chile and a member of Youth and Media at Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. Lionel will share with us how they conducted children's consultation in Chile. And last but not least, we'll hear from Salima Monoroma Ba. She's from the State Council at the Director of Science, Technology and Innovation of the Government of Sierra Leone. And Salima will share with us how they're planning to actually pilot these guidelines in Sierra Leone. And I just want to mention that with us, we also have Clara Pigmans and Melanie Penagos. Melanie is my colleague from Unicef who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to help us organize this webinar, and jointly with Steve and other colleagues led the project from our side. So now I'm going to give a floor to Mr. Fayez King and to Mr. Jarmo Sareva to give us a couple of minutes welcoming introduction.
Thank you very much, Yasmina. Hello, and thank you for having me. In the advent of seemingly boundless opportunities emerging around artificial intelligence, Unicef has worked with partners to set the global agenda on AI and children. With the support of Finland as a founding partner of the Innovation Fund, Unicef has leveraged AI to improve programming for children, from mapping the digital connectivity of schools to predicting the spread of diseases. Proudly, Unicef has also been at the forefront of asking what AI really means for children, from conception to early childhood development, education, and beyond. The potential of AI comes with risks, and we must consider the needs and rights of children as we move forward. When innovation takes us into uncharted territory, we must be responsible and guided by the unchanging rights of children and ethical principles. Therefore, I'm very pleased to see the launch of this policy guidance on AI for children. This ethical guidance is an opportunity to advocate for the rights of children everywhere and will create opportunities for innovation that keep us on the path toward accelerating results for children without doing harm. If we at Unicef are not doing this, who will? Thank you. Jamu, over to you.
Thank you, Fayaz, and thank you, Yasmina, for the introductions. Today is an important day because we now have the product, the draft product in our hands, the policy guidance, and Finland has been proud to sponsor this project and to have been part of the path towards today all the way. And we also look forward to hosting the policy forum next year in Helsinki, where the final product and the pilot experiences will be unveiled and discussed. This project is part of Finland's focus on digital cooperation and innovation as a tool for sustainable development and for human rights. As Fayaz, you just mentioned, technology has often very uncharted and unplanned pathways. And this brings me to what Stephen Vosloo, who is here today with us, told me when I first met him early last year. He asked the question, what does it mean to be a child in the era of Orwell? And children, if any, are vulnerable. And Finland's development and human rights policy has always been focused on protecting the vulnerable. And we are proud to be part of this project to make sure that children in the future, dominated increasingly by technology and by artificial intelligence systems, will take children and their rights into consideration. I look forward to a productive webinar and we look forward to hosting the policy forum next year in Helsinki. Thank you very much.
Thank you, both Fayaz and Jarmo. I know that Fayaz may have to leave in half an hour or so, but we hope also that Jarmo, you will be able to stay with us in case there are any questions directed to the Government of Finland. So before we move on, we have a quick poll for you, just to get a sense on who is on the webinar. You can see us, but we can't really see you. And the poll is about really half a minute asking which sector you represent. So please vote and we can see the results together. Okay. Oh, wonderful. So we have quite a few people from international organizations, but quite a good mix of people from government, private sector, academia. So this is really exciting. We have also a couple of more messages for you before we move on to the working part of this event. And these are actually messages from our executive director, Henrietta Fore, and from the Finnish Minister of Development Cooperation, Ville Skinnari. So now we're going to hear their pre-recorded messages.
Welcome, everyone, to this important discussion on artificial intelligence and its impact on children. We are especially proud to partner with the Finnish government. Finland is a pioneer in artificial intelligence, the first EU country to release a national strategy on the subject, and an influential voice in making AI more ethical and child-centered. Today, we're joining forces to release draft policy guidance on AI for children. The guidance will give policy and decision makers new tools to ensure that children's needs and rights are protected in AI strategies. their rights to privacy, protection, and safety. I'm especially pleased that we've worked closely with children and young people in developing this guidance. We've held consultations with almost 250 children around the world to reflect their ideas and concerns. This is essential because AI systems are not only transforming our world, they are transforming the future that today's children will inherit. AI technologies are already embedded in children's toys, virtual assistants, and video games. They drive chatbots and adaptive learning software. Algorithms provide recommendations to children on what videos to watch next, what news to read, even who to be friends with. You can also find AI systems at work in determining children's education, healthcare, and families' welfare subsidies. And we're only scratching the surface. The prevalence of these systems will grow exponentially in the years ahead, for better or for worse. Our job is to ensure that this growth is for the better and always in the best interests of children and young people. And that's what this new guidance is all about. But our work is far from over. We need your help to revise and shape this guidance. First, please provide feedback on the draft through our public consultation process. Second, we encourage you to use this document as you develop AI strategies or systems in your own countries. And third, be open about your experiences in bringing the guidance to life. Share what worked, what didn't work, and what needs more research. AI is moving relentlessly. We must keep pace and move quickly from principle to practice. All of us. Let's make sure that this incredible technology is used to make children's lives better, giving them access to the tools they need to learn and thrive, while keeping them and their information safe and secure every step of the way. On behalf of everyone at Unicef, thank you for lending your expertise and ideas to this important issue.
Dear participants, Your Excellencies, it's my pleasure to welcome you and all to this webinar and launch the draft policy guidance on artificial intelligence for children. Let me start by thanking Executive Director Henrietta Fore and her organization for their tireless efforts to promote and support the rights and needs of children and young people. Finland is very proud to have supported and worked closely with Unicef on this important issue. Finland has contributed for several years now to the Unicef Innovation Fund, which is a first mover in the UN innovation architecture. We are one of the champions charting the way forward on the follow-up process to the UN Secretary General's panel on digital cooperation. We participate actively in the work of the Roundtable on Artificial Intelligence and work closely with Unicef on enhancing digital public goods. We need to make sure that they are more approachable, diverse, and inclusive. Actually, artificial intelligence is a massive force for innovation that should be harnessed if we are to achieve the SDGs. The unprecedented pace of AI development and the digital leap taken during the COVID-19 pandemic highlight the importance of human rights-based governance and ethical considerations, especially when it comes to children and young people. Today's children grow and live surrounded by AI. They will face opportunities and difficulties no previous generation has ever encountered. Children often know how to tap, swipe, and pinch much better than we adults do. They are also curious and ask amazing questions we adults struggle to answer, in which case they end up turning to their internet for solutions. They are also ones who will shape the future of technology and AI. However, it's our responsibility to keep them safe and support them to unleash their full potential. With every click, their personal data is being collected, stored, and used. Concerns over children's privacy and the use of their data are growing. It's crucial that children's right to privacy and their autonomy as actors are taken into account in designing services, regulation, and policy. Connectivity and the shortage of digital skills represent huge bottlenecks. The digital gender divide is growing. Mainstreaming gender equality and breaking gender barriers and bias in the tech and innovation field are at the heart of Finland's work, both at home and abroad. For this reason, we are co-leading the Action Coalition on the promotion of technology and innovation for gender equality as part of the UN Women's Generation Equality Initiative. We are happy that Unicef is with us in this process. I'm very enthusiastic about launching this draft policy guidance today. In order to develop and ensure children-centered AI, we need commitment. We need cross-sectoral dialogue. We need practical tools to guide the public sector and private companies. And we need to listen. We need to listen to children and young people and include them as stakeholders in the policymaking process and in conversations about digital technology and the future of AI. That is why we wish for maximum use and leveraging of the guidelines once they are ready. Today, we look forward to hearing your expertise, experiences, and feedback on human-centered AI services in pursuit of well-being for children and young people. AI should be harnessed with the next generation's future in mind. I do hope you will all join in safeguarding children's rights, freedoms, and opportunities in the age of AI. Thank you so much.
So after these inspirational words from our executive director and from the Finnish minister, we are going to move to presentations about the policy guidance. And first you're going to hear from my colleague Stephen Woslow about how we got here and what the process looked like. Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Yasmina. So we know that AI is a hot topic. There are over 160 sets of AI principles to guide its ethical development and over 25 strategies, national strategies, to leverage AI, mostly for economic benefit. The good ones speak about AI based on human rights. And so as this project started, we wanted to see what these strategies said about children and child rights. Chloe, can you show the first slide, please? We conducted a review of 20 national strategies, and we found that overall, so if you look at this heat map, I'll explain it briefly. If it's dark blue, it means a lot of attention is given to a certain topic. If it's light blue, not so much attention. And we looked at these four lenses on provisions for children, there's quite a lot, and that's around education and healthcare usually. But what it also says about protecting children, their privacy. And then the third and fourth columns, the third is around making children more conscious consumers of AI, and the last column is around kind of educating children for a future workforce. So you can see there are some promising starts, and there's some great examples amongst these strategies. And I really encourage you to read the report where this table comes from. It's on our website. But overall, this map should be a lot darker. It's not enough just to talk about a human rights perspective. When the human is a child, there are additional protections and also provisions that are needed. And so when we did this review, we realized there is some work to be done. Thanks, Chloe. So secondly, as has been said, children have unique rights, and we know these are enshrined in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. So their rights to healthcare, to education, of course, but also to information, to play, to freely express their views in all matters affecting them, and to special protections. And while children are vulnerable, the point is not just to see them as objects of care, but also really as people with dignity, with agency, and with these distinct rights. And we really try to take that view when developing the policy guidance, that there's not just a protection angle, important as that is, but an empowerment angle. So even though children have these rights, when it comes to AI, they are not always exercised. And there are three reasons. Firstly, children are not always able to fully understand the implications of AI technologies as they interact with them. Secondly, they don't always have the opportunities to communicate their opinions on AI issues, nor the right advocates to support them. And thirdly, they often lack the resources to respond to instances of bias or to rectify any inaccuracies in their data. And you may be thinking, well, adults often don't have these same issues, but how much more so for children? We should also remember that children is not one, the world of children is not one homogeneous group. Children go through distinct developmental stages in their physical, emotional, cognitive, psychological capacities. And all of these factors influence the impact of AI on children. So we know that AI is very much in the lives of children today, and in the policy guidance, we really set out a few use cases or examples where you can see that it's not just something in the future. AI is in the lives of children, whether it's through chatbots, through recommendation systems, through facial recognition systems, or, for example, through predictive analytics in education assessment. And so this last example, many of you might know, caused an uproar last month. In the UK, because of COVID, the final year school pupils could not write their exams. And so an algorithm was devised to predict their final score. But because of the way it was designed, the algorithm failed dismally at the objective. And basically, it penalized high-achieving pupils in historically disadvantaged schools by lowering their expected grades, while at the same time pupils who were performing poorly in schools that usually do well had their grades increased. So luckily the system was abandoned for a more manual process, but it's a clear example today of how algorithms can impact on children's rights in their lives, even if they're not interacting with them directly. And so this was all the impetus for why we thought this project was necessary with Finland. And so we set out to develop a policy guidance, not to create another set of AI principles, there are enough of those, but we really wanted to complement existing work by looking at children. And so the guidance really has two goals. The one is to raise awareness of children's rights and how AI systems impacts on those rights for better or for worse, and to provide some recommendations so that AI policies and practice can be more child-centered. We've aimed the guidance at two broad audiences, really those who work on a policy level, and these could be government policymakers, or within the business sector, those who set ethical principles for their company or codes of conduct. So there's a policy level, and then there's a practice level. So again, within government and within industry, those who actually implement these policies and develop AI systems. We actually started the project looking only at policy and realized it's only one half of the story. And so we look at practice also. So to get to today, as has been said, we went through a very consultative process. We couldn't possibly just write this guidance from New York City. We went to 5 regions. We held consultation workshops with experts in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America and the Caribbean, in North America, and in East Asia Pacific. So 200 participants came to these workshops from 39 countries and from government, from academia, from the private sector, from the UN, from civil society. We received really rich feedback from these workshops. There were common themes. For example, in Africa and Latin America, there was a real kind of thank you, Chloe. Here's some photos from the workshops. In Africa, for example, there was a real ask in Latin America for more digital infrastructure to be able to fully leverage AI technologies. Whereas there were also differences. In Europe, there was less of a focus on infrastructure and more discussion around how to incentivize governments and businesses to be more child-centered. I can say that, we have workshop reports for all of the workshops on our website, so please, read those. But I can say that all of the workshops, everyone felt that more guidance was needed, that children are not being adequately addressed and their needs. As somebody at the Africa workshop said, AI is on the lips of politicians, but they don't know what to do next. And so that's where hopefully we can provide some support. We also couldn't develop a guidance on AI for children without talking to children. So as the ED said, we had about 250 children consulted across 9 workshops in Brazil, Chile, South Africa, Sweden, and the USA. I believe we're the first UN agency to do such a comprehensive consultation with children on AI, and Lionel will share a bit more after this. But I just wanted to show you 3 quick quotes. This one was from Brazil, and you can see what the girl is saying about how children are not being kept in mind. Next slide, please, Chloe. This was from the Africa workshop. I'll let you read that for a second. Thanks, Chloe. And then the last one was from the workshop in Sweden. And you can see what excites me. It's the future. I want to learn. I want to keep up. And so what we really got from these workshops was that children are really interested in this topic. We talked about what excites them, what worries them. You could see from the Africa comment, they understand that there are tensions, that there's privacy, but there's also information and access. And so we will be writing a report about the child consultations and holding a webinar on that in December. So please look out for that. But for now, everything we got from the workshops and the consultations is in the policy guidance launched today. And the launch is a milestone. As Jarmo said, we kind of see this as the first half of the project done. Now, what lies ahead? Well, thanks, Chloe. Basically, as the ED said, we need your help. We would like your feedback on the guidance, and we're opening it up for public consultation. We also want you to use it and to talk about what worked and what didn't. We are launching this purposefully as a draft. We know that in the world of AI, there are many more principles than practice, and that's because it's difficult. These principles sit side by side on paper very easily, but when you implement them, you have to make decisions and choices. And we want to hear from you about how you made those decisions and how you made those choices. So please blog about your work, put it up in reports, present it at conferences. If you do, let us know. There's an email address. We'd like to keep track of how it's being used. And again, all of this will feed into a version 2 that will come out next year. I should also say that we are in discussions with a few governments and private sector organizations that will pilot the guidance, and we will work with them to write those up as case studies. And you'll hear a bit more about that in a moment. So basically, next year, look out for these case studies. There's a global forum that we will hold on AI for children, hopefully in Helsinki, as Yamro said. If not, we will look at virtual options, but that is our plan, to meet in Helsinki so we can all meet face to face, and also version 2 of the guidance. So that was a quick overview of the project. We wanted to quickly just talk a bit more about the child consultation process because it's so important. So we've produced a short video of what we did, and then we'll go over to Lionel, who can tell us about the consultations in Chile. Thank you.
Artificial intelligence. I think artificial intelligence is Google Assistant, Siri, a robot, automatic cars.
Jogando videogame, essas coisas assim, sempre tem. Inteligência artificial é como se fosse uma mente dentro de computador, assim.
Och jag ser mest på AI som något positivt.
Things are getting easier for us.
Acende a luz, apaga a luz.
It's very exciting to think that I can actually speak to something that doesn't have human qualities but understands.
Eu acho que algumas pessoas têm um pouco de receio assim com a inteligência artificial.
I think anything could go wrong with AI.
The information that you never wanted people to know, it can be exposed.
Cars that drive themselves, driving itself, and I crash. Who's gonna be to blame for that?
Policymakers, parents, teachers need to make sure that children know enough about AI.
Eu acho que as pessoas que produzem isso, elas precisam entender que por trás daquela tela de celulares.
Government and policymakers should definitely be responsible, so they need to ensure that they understand what the product is, and they need to also ensure that it's being used safely.
Such a great video. Hello, I'm very delighted to be here. My name is Lionel Brosi, and together with my colleague Ana Maria Castillo, we lead the Artificial Intelligence and Society Hub at the University of Chile. And we have also implemented the consultation workshops with children and youth in the country with the collaboration of the Ministry of Science, Youth and Media from the Byrne Klein Center for Internet and Society, and Unicef Chile. I don't know if you can see the slides. Maybe yes. Okay, let's see. There we are. Okay, I have 5 minutes, so my intention is to provide a quick case study of the consultation in Chile. Initially, we had planned to do a face-to-face workshop during the month of March. And guess what happened? All schools were closed due to the pandemic, and we had to adapt the methodology to a 100% virtual experience. Despite of the reasons for this, we think that finally the online workshops were amazing and allowed much more children and youth to participate. Initially, we were thinking about 15 children, but finally we had 156 from all around the country. They were from 12 to 17 years old. We have used Zoom platform for conducting the workshops, and they consisted basically in 3 main activities: a poll with a plenary session for discussion, breakout room sessions where we discussed specific case stories of children using AI in terms of opportunities and challenges. And finally, a survey where children could express their own worries and excitements about AI. So we are going to share with you the report from the workshops in Chile. You can see so many quotes from the children that are really interesting. We are going to leave it here in the chat. And now, in honor to the timing, I will mention only 5 takeaways from the experience. Next slide, please. Thank you. There we are. These illustrations are from Daniel Esteve. We really love them. And in terms of benefits, we could say that children report that AI can help humanity to solve many problems of today and make their life easier. They mostly showed like a lot of interest in learning more about AI, learning to code, and also being able to understand how the systems work, which is something that is not taught in schools in Chile, and I will say in Latin America in general. It is interesting to know that categories such as speed, fast results, quick answers, easy solutions were considered central beneficial attributes of artificial intelligence systems. Then when we were talking about risks and worries, they were concerned about potential misuse of artificial intelligence and misuse of personal information. So the fact that artificial intelligence cannot understand human emotions was also a big concern to the children, since they say it might lead AI systems to make bad or harmful decisions. And another concern was the idea that AI could gain too much power so it can overcome humans. We could observe that media representations and movies, really bad media representations actually about AI, certainly shape how youngest children see these technologies. Then when it comes to information sharing and privacy, children and youth find themselves sharing too much personal information on social networks, in applications. And from this particular experience, we can say that girls tend to be more aware and worried about the potential risks of sharing personal data than boys. The question of who access their data and for what purposes is also relevant for them. Even though we could hear things like, we are giving all our data since we are born, so why to worry so much now? So in this aspect, we need really to work hard on AI literacy, data literacy, information literacy. Then another interesting part of the workshop was when we were talking about parental consent and responsibility. Even though participants reported they can take control of their own digital life, including the interaction with AI system, they value parents, tutors, and caregivers' support, especially for the case of younger children. But they complain parents do not have the skills, capacities, or sometimes even interest on this matter. So they report parents are not aware of their children, of how their children are using AI system, but it is interesting to identify that they say that parents and caregiver are the main responsible for any negative impact these technologies may have on them. So finally, what children have to say about AI, we can say they have a lot to say, and please feel free to download the report. It's really interesting. And as we could observe, children and youth are aware and concerned about issues of privacy and safety of AI, even if they don't have enough literacy in this regard, at least here in Chile. But they also have hopes and excitement about the potential that AI systems can bring to their lives. They wish AI could help them in education, in their future works, in well-being, and to make life much easier, safer, and fun for them. I can say that we still have a tremendous challenge ahead, and if we want to build clear and usable principles for implementing AI and implementing them to support child rights, it's necessary, and I will say mandatory, to constantly consider children's agency and to ensure they have a central role in all discussions and actions to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lionel and Steve, and amazing work done with children. I love the video and the illustrations. I just want to point out that Melanie has been putting in a chat box links to our website where you can find all this information, reports from the workshops, where you can find also the review of the policies that we conducted, and obviously the policy guidance. And now we will do another quick poll, just for 1 minute, to see where your organization is in terms of AI development and maturity. Are you an AI novice, AI ready, AI proficient, AI advanced, or it's not applicable to you and your organization? So 1 minute for a quick poll. And please keep sending us your questions in the Q&A box. And if possible, tell us your affiliation. So we'll pull out some questions and ask our experts later to provide answers. So can we see the results now? Okay, so again, evenly distributed, and it's exciting to see that we have advanced and novice colleagues here with us today. So hopefully you all find these sessions informative. And now we're moving on to the presentation by Virginia, who is going to tell us what is this policy guidance all about and what are the key messages we have for you, for policymakers, and for the government, for the private sector. Virginia, over to you. I think you're muted, Virginia.
Apologies. Thank you, Yasmina. Thank you all for being here today. It's my pleasure and my pleasure to be here to present to you the content of the guidance, which we did together with many people. It was not possible to do it by ourselves, of course, and a lot of us have directly being involved, like Steve and Melanie and Clara as well. But a lot of the content comes also from the consultations that we had with many of you around, from the reviewers, from the children, from all types of sources. So please, Chloe, if you can move to the next slide. This is the link, and Melanie has been sharing that on the chat box as well. So we look forward for all of you to look at it. And we start when we start talking about the guidance for AI and children, the first question we had to answer is, what is AI? What are exactly the issue that we want to provide this guidance about? And depending on who you talk, depending on what kind of information you get, what your background, there are many ways to look at AI. From that of a technology, and in this case, mostly we refer to technologies which in a more or less opaque way and black box way come up with predictions and actions which we don't really understand exactly how the system gets to there. All types of technologies based on machine learning and deep learning methods. But also a lot of people see AI as the next step in digitization, and in a sense it's just business as usual, and it's just nothing to really worry about. Many of us see it as a field of science, a field where research is done to understand human intelligence by trying to build models of it in artificial models, which help us understand what means to be intelligence as a person or as an entity. And if we look at many of the information in the media, or definitely the information that Hollywood and other science fiction venues bring about, AI is presented as a kind of a magic entity which in one way or another is going to take over the world, and we can only hope that it will be for the better and not for the worse. So depending very much on how we look at AI, how we divide guidance, how we divide policy can be completely different. We chose to take the definition from the OECD, in which refers and tries to abstract from all these type of perspectives, really to look at, it is a machine-based system which, given some objectives, and objectives which are defined by people and given to the system by people, the system is able to make predictions or recommendations which influence us in a real or a virtual environment. The next one, please. What is important to realize is that AI is not intelligence, and there is currently a whole field of research which tries to identify how can we trick AI to do all kinds of things which are not what it's supposed to do. And if all of us are able to identify a school bus in all of these pictures, it's extremely easy to transform any of these pictures, or to convince AI that some of the pictures are not depicting school buses. This is a toy example, or example which, but it gets worse when we move to real life examples in which, by putting stickers on a stop sign, AI starting to seeing it as a speed limit. Again, this is a characteristic of these algorithms that are used. It's based on the fact that AI cannot go further than the type of context in which it is being developed and the type of data that it is about. So if it has no data about stop signs here in North Sweden, which are covered on snow, it will be very difficult for it to identify a stop sign when it's all covered on snow. The same way, if it doesn't have enough data about children or about a specific children of a specific type of characteristics, it will not be able to give an appropriate answer or an appropriate recommendation if that data is not given to it. So we have to look at AI not only as the software, but we really have to look at it as a social technical system, a system in which you have software, but we also have all the stakeholders and organizations who develop it, deploy it, use it, and take recommendations based on this software. So when we talk about AI policy and AI guidance, we don't refer exclusively to the algorithms, but we really try to include all these organizations which are defining and using AI around. And that is what has been done by many organizations in the world. Stephen already referred to many hundreds of different guidance. So, next one. Chloe, yeah. There are many organizations in the world, which Stephen already referred to, trying to define guidance, policy, principles to describe what is it about taking a responsible view on AI, developing AI systems that are trustworthy, that are ethical, and so on. We are not going to follow, we looked at many of those, and Stephen described already how we did that. What is important to realize is if we want to develop AI in a responsible way and use AI in a responsible way, we really need to look at the ethical effects, so how AI affects our society, our principles, how it takes into account our fundamental values and human rights and children's rights, how AI is aligned with the legal mechanisms of the regions and countries where it is used and deployed. We also want these systems to be reliable. We don't want the system to crash. We don't want the system to start doing reacting strangely in different environments. We want AI to be beneficial for people, for planet, for all of us. And we want to do it in a way that we can verify. It's very easy to say we want trustworthy AI. How can we verify that the system, that an organization is using AI in a trustworthy way? The same if we want to develop systems that are fair or that are inclusive, what exactly do we mean by it? And how can we verify that the system is doing that? Because at the end of the day, this is what will give the trust to people to use this type of artifacts. The AI itself doesn't set the purpose. We are setting the purpose for these systems. And that is the background in which we have developed the guidance, which today we present to you. If we can move to the next slide. Yes, AI and children, we have seen already several examples today. It basically came down from the studies that we did, that we can use and see most of the applications of AI can be seen as a benefit for children, but can also be seen as a risk for children. And how we interpret that, from how to use AI toys to support the learning capability of children, at the same time as those toys are collecting data which are going to be used by the organizations that develop and use those toys, and commercial organizations. How we balance those two things, how we balance, for instance, the possibilities of facial and biometric recognition to support identified children who are lost or have been abducted or who are in war situations, but at the same time, how can we protect and ensure the privacy of children and the way that their data is shared and it's being collected and managed. All these applications have benefits and risks for children. So we really tried to design the guidance with this in mind. How can we leverage the benefits while making sure that the risks are taken care and are controlled? And we can move to the next slide. So the foundations for child-centered AI is basically, we really want to empower children in an AI world. We want to empower the children of today, in the world of today, but to continue this empowering of children in the world of tomorrow. And as AI takes place and takes position in the world, we really want to keep providing this empowerment for children. And by the empowerment of children, we mean that we want to protect children, to ensure that these systems in no way do harm to any child in the world. But we also want the systems to do good for children, to provide children with opportunities and capabilities and functionalities which maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, in a way that we include all children. So we want children to participate, and we want children to be all children in the world, to be able to get involved and getting the benefits from the AI systems that are being developed. And this leads us to the recommendations that we have made in the guidance, which is today open for your consultation, in which we look at how can we support children development, how this system should ensure inclusion of children and ensure the protection of data privacy and fairness for children, safety of children, ensure the transparency, explainability, and accountability of these systems from the children perspective, empower governments and business to really have knowledge of what AI and children rights are in an AI situation, prepare children for the present and future developments of AI, and creating an enabling environment in which all these requirements are kind of standard and given and the first thing for any development of use or deployment of AI. From these requirements, we have designed a large set of recommendations. Some of those recommendations will be more geared to policymakers and governments. Other recommendations are more geared to the organizations, private or public, that developed and use AI in their operations. But also some of these recommendations apply to all of us and to the children and to anyone who is concerned with child well-being and ensuring of children's rights. I'm not going to go through all these recommendations here. I would just like to give a short example of some of these recommendations. Some of them are very overarching recommendations. So if you are really going to, where should you start tomorrow? First thing is to look what is the context, what is your national and local context, and how is the reality at this moment there, and be realistic about what can be done today and how can we promote children well-being and children's rights in the context of your own situation. For instance, when we talk about protecting children data and privacy, some concrete recommendations is to develop and to support and leverage means and possibilities to promote children data agency, to promote the children themselves to take in, for as much as they can, control and understand what it is, how their data is being shared and being used. And of course, to adopt a privacy by design approach. So ensuring that at the core of any system, there is a care for privacy of children and of others, of course. And also, in order to ensure that we prioritize fairness and non-discrimination of children, we really need to encourage and facilitate and support the development of data sets which include children data in a way that supports the privacy, but also that supports the diversity of children, and that AI can look at all types of children and have enough information about how children are affected by the systems. Finally, we have developed also some support mechanisms, support instruments, more geared to developers, and it's a very normal and common practice in development of software to use Canvas to guide and to facilitate the discussion and the interaction about how we are developing systems. So we have provided a development canvas which looks at how can we include all this guidance and the design requirements in a very concrete way and with very concrete questions to developer teams. So we hope that the developer teams that want to take a child-centered approach for AI have some support by this type of instrument, and that these questions can help on the ensuring that the right questions and the right attitude is taken. We really look forward for comments and for feedback on the use of this type of instruments. And we have another one, a roadmap development, supporting the policymakers and governments in the process of implementing and designing and operationalizing all the recommendations that we make in our guidance. And again, we look forward for your feedback and insights on how to these steps that we developed support your development and operationalization in your concrete cases. And I would like to finish by thanking everybody for the input. I think we already referred to the regional workshops, the children consultations, all the respondents of our global expert survey, which included people from around the world, from many different countries, including Cameroon, Jamaica, Nepal, but many other countries as well. The reviewers of our policy guidance that you have in front of you today, and also the expert advisory group, which has been extremely supportive and providing continuously their support and feedback for the work that we have done today. Thank you very much for all of you and for you today, and we really are looking forward to continue the dialogue with all of you now that you have the guidance in front of you.
Thank you so much, Virginia. This has been really impressive, and as you mentioned, so much work has gone into development of this policy guidance by so many different people, and we're particularly grateful to you, Virginia, for your continued support and guidance. So before we move on to our last speaker, we have another quick poll for you, this is really to see which one of these elements that Virginia presented is most important to you. So can we see the poll now? Well, here it is. Is it support children's development and well-being, ensuring inclusion of all children, prioritizing fairness and non-discrimination, protecting data and privacy, ensuring safety for children, providing transparency, explainability and accountability, empowering governments and businesses with knowledge, or preparing children for present and future developments of AI. So we have 15 seconds to complete this poll. Okay, so Chloe, do we have the results ready? Interestingly, a lot of you say that protecting children's data and privacy is top of your priority and development of children's well-being. And and this is really exciting because we want to continue working with all of you to ensure that these recommendations we have in the policy guidance are implemented, and that we can see how to improve them and how to make them even better. We obviously want to encourage everyone to use this guidance and to openly share with us your experiences. As Steve mentioned, we'll be working with a few governments and businesses, and we'll be writing up these case studies so that they can be used by others. Currently, we are in talks with Fujitsu from Finland, the Ministry of Social Affairs and Health in Finland, as well as Helsinki University Hospital. We are discussing with AI Sweden, the Government of Malta, LEGO, JRC, and Honda Research Institute in Japan, and others, how to actually pilot these guidelines in the next year. A final announcement of our pilot partners will be made next month, so please stay tuned and check our website occasionally. So we're thrilled to be working with the government of Sierra Leone as a pilot partner, and we're going to hear now from Salima a little bit more about their plans. Over to you, Salima.
Thank you, Yasmina, and thank you to Unicef for inviting the government of Sierra Leone to be a pilot partner. The Directorate of Science, Technology and Innovation was formed in 2018 by His Excellency the President of Sierra Leone and is led by Dr. David Senge, who not only serves as the Chief Innovation Officer of Sierra Leone, but is also currently the Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary School Education. Our mandate at the STI is to support the government of Sierra Leone deliver on its national development plan by leveraging the use of science, technology, and innovation. And as such, our work cuts across all sectors of government. In the 2019 to 2023 medium-term national development plan, this administration has identified human capital development as key to long-term economic and social growth. And for this, His Excellency, the President of Sierra Leone, has laid out a clear vision focusing on 3 sectors: health, education, and agriculture, with the free quality school education program being the flagship. As part of DISTI's drive to support the government, we have set up within DISTI a human capital development incubator, where discrete ideas to deliver targets on the 3 sectors are born, developed, tested, and evaluated before implementation on a national level. One such example of this work is the Incubator-Led Education Innovation Challenge, which was established with the aim of increasing literacy and numeracy competency of children in primary education. For this challenge, when it was launched, we received over 20 competitive applications from various organizations with compelling track records of delivering education programs in Sierra Leone. And from the applications submitted, the top 5 were selected based on a criteria of evidence-based innovation, sustainability, and likelihood of achieving learning outcomes. As a government, we are keen to use data for decision-making, and in order to support the design and iteration of this challenge, an overall evaluation of the baseline and end line of the selected ideas was required. To facilitate this process, DISTI has developed a baseline assessment tool which visualizes the different variables of the student assessment conducted using an adapted version of the ACE test. I will post the link to the tool on the chat, and I invite everyone to interact with it and examine it. But please bear in mind that it is just the first version. Within the next 3 months, we intend to improve on the tool, and one of the main features to be developed is a mobile application that will allow users to conduct a self-assessment, conduct assessment themselves in both text and audio formats, which will then be analyzed and assessed by the application. As with any system or AI system, we are aware of certain risk factors relating to children, such as data exposure, exclusion, and discrimination. And DSTI and the government is already working to mitigate those. One factor of that is at DSTI, we have a safeguarding and non-disclosure policy in place, which applies to all of the employees. In addition, the government enforces a radical inclusion policy, and as such, the selection of schools for the challenge was conducted through a randomization process to ensure an equal inclusion of schools from the urban and rural areas of Sierra Leone. Also, the baseline assessment tool methodology was intentionally designed to ensure an inclusive student selection process. At DSTI, we are excited excited for this opportunity to be a pilot partner, as one of the key principles of our national innovation and digital strategy is country as an AI lab. With this, Sierra Leone is looking to provide a platform for AI and data science research that spurs local creativity and generates talent. We also welcome this policy guidelines, given the fact that the baseline tool is designed to specifically impact children, and we are therefore keen to ensure that we are guided in what we're doing, and also ensure that the rights of children are efficiently protected, provided for, and empowered. This could not have come at a better time as we look to commence development of version 2 of the tool, as previously mentioned, and we look forward to working with UNICEF to implement the recommendations of the policy guidelines and also share our learning outcomes, which we hope will contribute to and shape the final version of the policy guidelines. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Salima, and for actually bringing to our attention the work you're doing in the education sector. We have several questions from our panelists, from our audience, who were also asking about how the education sector will start to implement and use AI in education. So we have about 15 minutes now for questions and answers. And thank you for Melanie, who has pulled out these questions for us in a chat box. So I'm going to take a few and ask our panelists to answer those. So the first one is really about the consultation with children and the age of children who took part in the consultation. Then we have a question about how will the education sector start AI education. Then we have a question, that was a question from Mark Timothy Manais. Then we have a question from Ian Reid from Inclusive Education Australia, who is asking about how to build the capacity of key adults, parents, caregivers, teachers, and others, which are essential to support and protect children using AI. What support is available and what training is available. And then the last question is the proposal for child-centered AI. Is it for all AI applications or only for those that are designed for children in mind? So I'm going to ask perhaps Steve to tell us a little bit first about the age of children that took part in this consultation, and also how we worked with other organizations on this, because I saw some questions about UNESCO. And also, yeah, Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Yasmina. So firstly, on the ages of the children, the absolute range, the youngest was 12. We actually did have, I think, 1 or 2 19-year-olds, but most children were in the 13 to 16 range. That was really the biggest group. Maybe I'll take the last question as well, about are we only looking at AI systems that children interact with, or all AI systems? And this is a really good question. Our guiding principle was AI systems that either impact children directly or perhaps that impact them indirectly. So for example, this algorithm in the UK for predicting the final year exam result, the child is not using that personally, but it's impacting on their lives. So that's an indirect impact. When it comes to children's rights around having being provided for and having a safe, for example, home environment, the way that algorithms may impact on their parents, what kind of home loans they get, what kind of healthcare access and quality they get, also again impacts indirectly. So it's not all AI systems, but you can see that this covers a large part of it, of AI systems where children are impacted. We are working very closely with UNESCO. I should say that we took as inspiration UNESCO's Beijing principles on AI in education, and it's a really great set of principles, and UNESCO is developing a normative standard for ethics in AI. And we are working closely with them to give inputs and to make sure that children are included there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Virginia, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how to build the capacity of key adults, particularly teachers, and if you could tell us a little bit more about how to start AI education.
Thank you. Yasmina. Yes, actually, when we started this work and the plans for the guidance, we were also including teachers, parents, and other adults involved and children as well. For that, we have selected now for the guidance to be focusing on the policymakers, governments, and developers, to focus it a bit. But we did develop and collect a very extensive list of resources which can be used and also are applicable for AI education, for supporting teachers, educators, and parents. So in the website, you also have access to this list of resources. And again, please comment and give us other links to other types of resources that can be used. We also, we are providing guidance to develop policy and to develop better AI systems. So part of this guidance and part of the recommendations include requests and information that policymakers take into account education on AI and develop AI education at all levels in their own countries, in their own regions, in a way that starts with the youngest children all the way to university education, but also including professional education. So a lot of our recommendations refer indeed to the importance and the necessity to take AI education central in educational curriculums at all levels of education. But at the same time, we also really want to stress that it's not only education about AI, but really education that empowers children in the AI world. And that also means that we should not forget the soft skills and the social skills that will enable children to fill in the jobs in the future that AI will never be able to take into account. So it's not only making children proficient on AI, but also making children proficient in all these soft skills, which really are necessary for the future.
Thank you so much, Virginia. Jarmo, could you tell us a little bit also about the AI education from the Finnish perspective? Jarmo? Do we have Jarmo still here with us? Maybe until we get Jarmo back, Lionel, could you answer the question about building capacity of parents from your own personal experience in working with children and caregivers?
Yes, sure, Yasmina, thank you. Well, it's a quite difficult question. I think each family member has something valuable to contribute. I will say that from the workshop that we implemented in Chile, we could see that parents were somehow absent from these processes of learning or interacting with AI systems. And we find out that there is a strong ethics of care among siblings and friends. They teach each other, protect each other, commenting on potential challenges or risks. But I think that for parents to show some leadership, we need knowledge to be more equally distributed. And particularly in Latin America, we need better connectivity and access. I know that digital divide and AI divide involve much more than access and connectivity, but here we are still struggling with these structural problems. So we need also to help parents to gain more literacy in these matters, and maybe we can share with you some really cool and useful resources from Use and Media. We have a digital citizenship resource platform, which has freely accessible tools and activities for parents and families. And it's really easy to download, to explore, and to use it. Furthermore, in the context of a project that we are leading in different countries of Latin America, Ablatam, which explores the digital daily practices of youth in different countries such as Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, and Brazil, we have found that parents and tutors encounter different barriers to internet use. Lack of literacy, lack of time because of work, and lack of connectivity and access. As I said, we have found families that they share, for instance, one cell phone for all the family members. And for instance, the father used his cell phone when he goes to work, and the children need to wait until night so they can do their homework and interact online. So we're still having a huge gap, and I think like a multi-sectoral approach to help families, educational communities could be a really a good way to help parents to overcome all these kind of gaps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lionel. So Jarmo, we have you back with us, and I see you're unmuted.
Yes, thank you. On education, it is really, really important, and I just wanted to take a moment to highlight something that many of you are aware of, that is the Elements of AI free online course, which was developed by the University of Helsinki and a company that they have been working with, Reactor. It is a cluster, basically a cluster of courses that are freely available online. The goal is to demystify artificial intelligence and to enable a maximum number of people to learn what AI is and, of course, what it is not, and to help them use AI-based tools, and also to start creating AI methods themselves. This course was first designed and created for the Finnish population with a goal of having at least 1% of Finns take it. We have now reached that goal, and last year, at the end of its EU presidency, Finland gave the EU as a gift the translation of the course into all European languages. So you can watch that space. It's elementsofai.com. And if you watch that space, you will find when the course will be available in your European language. Unfortunately, it is currently only going to be available in European languages. We hope that eventually it will be translated into other languages as well. elementsofai.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jarmo. We have a few more questions coming here. One was about the methodology and research design for developing this draft policy guidance. I can answer that question myself. We base this policy guidance on the first analysis and assessment of children's use of digital technologies and how they are impacted by AI. We we didn't carry out our own research, but we built our work on the research carried out previously by World Economic Forum, Berkman Klein Center, and so on. And also, as Melanie mentioned, we did an extensive review of policies and strategies and tried to identify the gaps which need to be addressed. And thank you, Salima, for providing the link to the Education Innovation Challenge Baseline Assessment Tool. We have a couple of more questions, and then I'll hand over to Steve to close this. One, let me see, I'm trying to get them here. Okay, one from Siobhan O'Flynn. The fifth right in California's CCPA says that consumers have the right to receive equal service and pricing from a business, even if they exercise their privacy rights under the Act. When consumers opt out of data collection, is this a right that can be adapted or adopted for children? Recognizing then collection of personal information is restricted in many nations, and perhaps Virginia can give us a quick answer to that. And then the last question I will take is, and hand it over to you, Steve, is what is the incentive to carry out child-centered AI project in terms of funding? And how can we raise awareness among developing economies around the priorities in this agenda? So Virginia, over to you, and then to Steve.
Thank you. Indeed, data collection about children is an important issue, and is an issue that we also have dedicated some of the recommendations for. From a legal perspective, a lot opt out on data collection or opt in on data collection where it respects children is in most countries kind of done by the parents, because from a legal perspective, the parents of the children are the ones who can take the responsibility for this type of decisions. But indeed, there are many countries in which the collection of children's information is taken differently or taken in a more careful way than general data collection. However, we really need to take not only the legal perspective, but also the more child rights and ethical type of view on it, and that would include looking at also the way children are using these systems. And in many cases, even if the system is not meant or designed for children to be used, children are using it, and therefore we really need to look at the data that children are leaving behind in systems that are not meant or not directly designed for children, to take their especially care about understanding how to deal with this data. So indeed, rights and regulations at regional and at country level can support that, but it's also something which we really want to encourage to take a privacy by design, so that the systems themselves are built around and centered around taking care and ensuring privacy and data protection at the level of how the systems are developed.
Thank you so much, Virginia. Before I give floor to you, Steve, to close, there was a question particularly for Leonel from colleagues from Brazil about how they can learn more about your experience and Latin American experience. Leonel, could you tell us a couple of words or just put it in a chat box where people can find out more information?
Sure. Well, we have different websites. We have the hablatam.net. I can put it in the chat now. But also the Youth and Media website. And I can share happily my email, so you can write to me. And also in Brazil, particularly, we are working with ITS Rio, who are really good friends, and we are working in different projects. So yes, feel free to contact me or check any of the websites that I'm going to share now in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leonel. And that's all from me. Now over to Steve to give us a few final words.
Thanks, Yasmina. We should also say we work closely in Brazil. We worked with the cetic.br also great friends of ours, and they were the host of our workshops there. And they do a lot of research on how young people use technology. So they would be a good resource. I'm sorry, I didn't get to the question about the incentives and raising awareness in developing countries. Maybe I can follow up with you afterwards, Miguel. But yeah, in closing, just to say, we really do want you to get involved, to get everybody involved. The AI ecosystem is big. It's not just government and industry. It's, as we've heard, it's parents, it's children, it's teachers, it's lawmakers, it's psychologists. It's a broad range. And so please get involved in this project. The best way really is just to find out more information on the project website. I'd encourage you to join our mailing list. That's the best way to keep up to what lies ahead. We've got some great webinars coming up. We have more reports. We have the case studies, the global forum, or just drop us an email. But this is not the end of the story. This is the end of the beginning. So we look forward to working with you and to forging the space and to more child-centered AI. So thanks, Yasmina. Maybe if I close it out, I think that's it.
I realized I was muted. I'm so
sorry.
I was just saying how we went without a glitch for an hour and a half, and this last minute. Thank you to all of you, particularly to our panelists and your very insightful presentations. Thank you to all the colleagues who have helped us on this journey and who helped us get this far, and particularly to all of you who were attending this webinar and stayed with us for an hour and a half. And we know that in some places around the world it's quite late tonight. So to all of you, a good day and a good night, and please stay in touch. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.